My name is Leo, and I am 22 years old, living in the constant sunshine and relentless heat of Phoenix, Arizona. My life felt like a treadmill under the desert sun, always moving, always sweating, but never really getting anywhere new. Most mornings started before dawn, pushing shots of espresso at a coffee shop where the air conditioning struggled against the rising temperatures outside. The smell of coffee was usually my comfort, but some days it just blended into the general aroma of my exhaustion. After my shift, I'd hop into my old, beat-up sedan, a car that was more rust than paint, and switch to my second job, delivering packages. The afternoon sun would bake my car, making the steering wheel too hot to touch, and every package felt heavier than the last. My dream, the flickering light at the end of my very long tunnel, was to save enough money to finally enroll in community college, to study something that actually sparked joy, maybe graphic design. I wanted to create beauty, not just deliver boxes. But between rent, gas for the car, and sending a little bit home to my parents who were struggling with medical bills, my savings account was a joke. It felt like I was constantly battling an invisible enemy within myself, a nagging voice whispering that I wasn't smart enough, strong enough, or simply destined for anything more than this endless grind. That internal nemesis, that doubt, was the heaviest burden I carried. Every night as I fell into bed, too tired to even kick off my sneakers, I'd stare at the ceiling, wondering if this was all there was, if I was just meant to live a life of quiet desperation. The fear of being stuck, of never breaking free, was a cold knot in my stomach even in the heat of Phoenix. I tried everything to get ahead. I picked up every extra shift I could at the coffee shop, even the undesirable closing shifts that ended well past midnight. I signed up for more delivery routes, sometimes driving late into the night, squinting through my grimy windshield at the endless desert roads. My social life had withered away, a casualty of my relentless pursuit of a dream that felt increasingly out of reach. My old car, my lifeline to both jobs, was constantly needing repairs, each visit to the mechanic a punch to my gut and my meager savings. One particularly brutal month, the air conditioning in my apartment broke down in the middle of a 110-degree heat wave. The landlord said it would take weeks to fix. I spent those nights tossing and turning in a puddle of sweat, feeling like the universe itself was conspiring against me. Then came the ultimate blow. My car, my faithful but aging companion, finally gave up the ghost. It just wouldn't start one morning. I tried everything I knew, but nothing worked. The mechanic delivered the news with a grim face. The engine was beyond repair. The cost of a new engine or even a reliable used car was more than I could possibly scrape together. I felt a profound sense of helplessness wash over me. Without a car, I couldn't do my delivery job, and getting to the coffee shop on time would be a nightmare on public transport, taking hours out of my already packed day. I stood there, leaning against the hood of my now useless car, the sun beating down on me, feeling like my entire world was collapsing. All those extra hours, all those skipped meals, all that dreaming seemed to have been for nothing. I had been saving up for tuition, a tiny amount, but it was something. Now it all had to go towards fixing transportation if I could even find a cheap enough option. The despair was a suffocating blanket. I walked to the nearest grocery store, feeling hollowed out, needing to buy just a few cheap things to last me. As I walked down the aisles, staring at the price tags, I felt tears sting my eyes. I was so incredibly tired, so utterly defeated. My dream of college, of a better life, felt like a cruel joke. I wanted to just curl up and disappear. I was standing in line at the grocery store, clutching a carton of ramen noodles and a half-gallon of generic milk, items that felt like the sum total of my current existence. My mind was in a fog of despair, replaying the mechanic's words, picturing my dead car. The woman in front of me was buying a cart full of food for a big family, and the total was huge. As she paid, I looked past her to the next person in line, an older man. He was tall, with kind eyes that held a hint of sadness and lines etched deep around them like stories waiting to be told. His clothes were worn but clean, and he wore a baseball cap with an old military emblem. He had only a single carton of milk in his hands. When the cashier scanned it, the man fumbled in his wallet, his hand trembling slightly. He pulled out a few crumpled bills, then hesitated, a look of profound embarrassment crossing his face. "I'm so sorry," he mumbled, his voice raspy. I seem to be a little short." My heart sank. I knew that feeling all too well, the sting of not being able to afford even the smallest necessity. He started to apologize again, offering to put the milk back. At that moment, something shifted inside me. All the sadness and defeat I felt for myself seemed to evaporate, replaced by a sudden, urgent desire to help him. I had just enough cash in my wallet for my ramen and milk, maybe $20. It was all I had left until my next paycheck, which now felt even more uncertain without my car. But looking at his face, at the quiet dignity mixed with his pain, I couldn't just stand there. It was a crazy impulse, a leap of faith when I had no safety net. I gently pushed my few items aside, walked to the veteran, and placed my hand lightly on his arm. "Excuse me, sir," I said, my voice softer than I intended. "Please let me get that for you." He looked at me, startled, and then his eyes welled up. "Oh no, son, you don't have to do that." But I was already turning to the cashier. "Add his milk to my bill, please," I said, handing over my last $20 bill. It covered his milk and left me with enough for my ramen, but no milk for myself. As he blinked, still trying to refuse, I had another thought. I knew that feeling of just needing one thing but truly needing more. Before he could protest further, I quickly walked back into the store. I grabbed another cart, and this time I didn't think about my own empty bank account. I thought about what I would need if I were in his shoes. I filled the bag with essentials: bread, eggs, some fresh fruit, a small package of ground beef, a jar of peanut butter, and yes, another carton of milk. It cost me every last dollar I had, and then some, pushing me into negative territory on my debit card. My heart pounded, a mix of fear and exhilaration. I quickly paid for it, asked for a receipt, and scribbled a quick note on the back. "Thank you for your service. Hope this helps. A friend." I hurried back outside, scanning the parking lot. I saw the veteran slowly walking towards an older pickup truck. I placed the bag gently on the ground next to his back tire, then quickly walked away, rounding the corner of the building before he could see me. My stomach was empty, my pockets were empty, and my car was broken, but I felt lighter than I had in weeks. A profound sense of peace settled over me. It was strange, like giving away the last bit of myself had somehow made me whole. The next few days were incredibly tough. I had to rely on buses, which took forever, making me late for shifts and losing me precious hours. I ate ramen noodles for every meal, and the heat in my apartment felt unbearable. My spirit, however, was stubbornly refusing to dip back into despair. I kept thinking about the look on the veteran's face, about the small act of kindness. That single moment had created a tiny spark of warmth inside me. A few days later, while working my coffee shop shift, I saw a familiar face at the counter. It was the veteran. He looked different somehow, less burdened. He spotted me, his eyes widening. "You," he said, a gentle smile spreading across his face. "You're the young man from the grocery store." My cheeks flushed. He held up a hand. "Don't say anything. I saw you put that bag by my truck. The note, too. You have no idea what that meant to me." He then introduced himself as Arthur. He was a retired Air Force veteran, and recent medical bills had put him in a tight spot, just like my parents. He de-recognized me from the store, and a kind cashier had confirmed I worked here. Arthur didn't just thank me. He listened to my story about my car and my college dreams. He knew someone who ran a small auto shop, a veteran who often helped out other veterans and their families. Within a week, Arthur had connected me. The mechanic at the auto shop, a gruff but kind man named Gus, took a look at my car and somehow miraculously was able to get it running again for a fraction of what I expected. He said Arthur had told him about me. It was like a miracle. My old car sputtered back to life, and with it, my ability to work both jobs and keep chipping away at my tuition savings. The debt I had incurred from buying Arthur's groceries felt like a small price to pay for the renewed hope and connection I now felt. I started attending community college classes part-time that very semester, something that felt impossible just weeks before. Now every month, when I send money home to my parents, I also contribute a little extra to a local veterans charity that Arthur recommended. I try to pay it forward in small ways too, buying a coffee for the person behind me in line, helping an elderly customer carry groceries to their car. I've learned that sometimes, when you feel completely empty, giving away the very last thing you have is the only way to make room for something new and wonderful to enter your life. Arthur and I still meet for coffee sometimes. He tells me stories from his service, and I tell him about my classes. He's become a mentor, a friend. I often think about that day in the grocery store. I went in feeling the weight of the world, ready to give up. I left empty-handed, but with a full heart. The true twist of fate wasn't just that Arthur helped me, but that by giving away the last of my resources, I found my own strength, my own hope, and a community I didn't even know I was missing. Things truly do get better, sometimes in the most unexpected ways, by simply choosing kindness even when you feel you have nothing left to give.